She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Well, there isn't a mountain, but there is a pond. She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. When she comes. Monstrous was directed by Chris Steverson, who did I Know Who Killed Me and All Cheerleaders Die, as well as a few other things. This is also written by Carol Crest. I hope I got that right. She did The Prophet's Game back in the year 2000. So quite a gap between periods of work, but nevertheless, this stars Christina Ricci as a mother named Laura. Christina Ricci is old enough to play a mother. My God, I am so fucking old. She looks fucking fantastic. She's looked fantastic for about the last 20 years, and she's terrific in about any movie she's in. Also, introducing Santino, not Marella. Non-wrestling fans have no idea who I'm talking about. Santino Bernard as her son, Cody, who, well, basically they're at a house in the middle of nowhere, and the Langtrees have fixed it up, and it's a way for her to basically just get away from her abusive husband, Scott. But there is something going on around this house, not around the mountain where she comes, but in the pond, where something really, really strange is going on, and Laura has to figure out and solve this mystery, not rewrite history. We're no DuckTales, woohoo! So when I saw that this was on Amazon Video, I decided to give it a shot. I love Christina Ricci, as I just said, and was like, okay, let me see what this is all about. Then I saw what the director did, and I'm like, I Know Who Killed Me was certainly not great. In fact, saying it's not great is being kind. I pretty much hated that movie, but I will probably retro-review it at some point, because it was the start of the downfall of Lindsay Lohan until the eventual rebirth and resurrection of Lindsay Lohan. Everything's a fucking resurrection when people come back from seemingly the brink of whatever. But nevertheless, Monstrous certainly lives up to its name as far as being a monstrous, A series of moments is really what it comes down to. But the storyline's simple, does have a bit of a twist in the third act that actually you honestly could see coming from a mile of fucking way if you've, well, left your house in the last, 20 years or seen any clips of any movies. The movie's by no means deep, but it does have a really, really cool setting. It's set in the late 50s, early 60s. I'm not exactly sure on the exact time period. Based on the cars, that's the best I can narrow it down. And it comes to us from Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment and Sky Media and a few other production companies. In fact, there were a lot of producers on this film. They did capture the 1950s, early 60s motif and theme perfectly. And for what is seemingly a low-budget movie, it had great music, it had great atmosphere. Christina Ricci looked great as, like being this 50s mom, this late 50s, early 60s mom that's just trying to make ends meet, trying to get away from an abusive ex, and all that stuff. And it ends up being a nice period piece, and then goes sort of off the rails, and then completely off the goddamn rails. I think the movie had a lot of ideas. It was trying to throw in human centipede them together, and eventually it kind of unraveled. This isn't bad. This isn't as great as I had hoped it would be, but it ended up being overall pretty damn good. They basically, the Langtrees are like, landlords are letting her stay at this place. She's paying the rent and stuff like that, but everybody kind of does weird, just character shifts. People will just be okay with stuff, and then suddenly, boom, no, they won't be. It's like they edited parts of this out and then just hodgepodged it together and thought, okay, those scenes will flow well together, even though the character arcs just go from here to over there all of a sudden. So it gets a bit strange, gets a bit weird. It isn't dull, I'll give them that much. Again, the ending is rather obvious, and it becomes increasingly more obvious as you get into it. Probably I'd say about halfway through is really when you should have figured it out, but really you should have figured it out in the first few minutes. The dynamic between Christina Ricci and Santino Bernard actually is pretty good. For being a kid that has either not been in many movies or maybe this is his first, big role, he actually did pretty well. Kid actors are tough to grade, but he was fine. It's also kind of basic in its story, but it's not bad, and overall tends to be a nice way of, showcasing how some people might deal with grief and how some people might deal with loss and stuff that they're going through and everything, and be in abusive relationships. Don't abuse your partners, you fucking idiots. Also, don't abuse your partner. If you have multiple partners, well, whatever. I'm not here to question how you get down, but maybe don't abuse anybody that you're with. You fucking weirdos. So yeah, now we're going to get into spoilers though, because the movie is really hard to describe other than getting into spoilers. But it's on Amazon for about $7 to rent, so it's certainly not a bad price. It's better than paying $20 for a first run movie that will seemingly drop on a new streaming or on a streaming service within the next few weeks. So now let's get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. 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 Okay, spoilers. All right, that was a bit of a warning right there. All right. So Laura escapes with her son to this area. Mrs. Langtree, played by Colleen Camp, is a bit apprehensive. Her husband, played by Don Darrell, they put a lot of money into the house, and he's kind of a good landlord. She's kind of a bad landlord. Good cop, bad cop, good landlord, bad landlord. Colleen Camp, I will say, does have the weirdest character arc because she seems fine and then just shoots to the other side quickly. There's also this pond where weird shit is happening. Like Cody keeps hearing voices, weird, chandeliers and stuff keep going. And since it's set in the 50s, early 60s, there's this commercial about a particular series of appliances that Laura repeats to herself. Laura also tends to drink. She's working an office job that looked like it was smoking, literally back in the late 50s, early 60s. Every television show, movie, and every billboard smoked because how were they supposed to know smoking was bad for you? Whatever. However you get down is your business. But Laura's not dealing with all this stuff that well, and Cody's not dealing with this stuff well. He forgives his dad. He wants to go back. He wants to go back to the life that he had with his dad and his mom. Now, we never find out what kind of abuse it was, but we do find out what actually happened a little bit later. Then things start to unravel a little bit. Laura's having these bad nightmares, so's Cody. Cody then finally becomes aware that there is something in the pond that actually wants to help him. The pretty lady in the pond. And actually, the woman that plays the lady in the pond is quite pretty, so I will say that was accurate casting. And he keeps wanting to go with the pretty lady in the pond, which sounds like, I don't know, some kind of Def Leppard song or something. And basically, Def Leppard wasn't around in the 50s and 60s. Maybe they were around the late 60s. I have no fucking idea. Moving on from the music. Laura finds out that, Cody is not acting like himself. He's acting really, really strange. He doesn't hand out invitations for a birthday party and everything. She starts to get a little bit more apprehensive and a little bit more angry because he keeps wanting to go with the pretty lady in the pond. And then, seemingly the craziest thing about it is, the songs, by the way, are on point. He does end up singing "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain When She Comes." There are actually no mountains that factor into this movie. So I don't really understand why they did that, but nevertheless. Mrs. Langtree finally, has a confrontation with her, assumes that she's on drugs, is actually that she's drinking. Laura quits her job, dances with a weird guy that basically tells her, hey, you need to find your wings, you need to fly and everything, because she played an angel in a play. It's really, really weird how they did this movie. This is after the boss basically just said, well, you can't drink on the job, you just need to double check your work and everything. And the boss tried to be understanding and she just fucking quit because she's not dealing with stuff well. Also, her ex, Scott, is trying to contact her saying he's really sorry, please come back. No, you will never speak to me or Cody again. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for that. We don't get to see Scott. Well then, Cody can't be found at school. Oh no. Cody can't be found at school. What the hell's going on? A cop talks to her. And then this caseworker talks to her. And, this caseworker of some variety is talking to her. And about Cody's accident in Arizona, in Mesa, Arizona. Well, what the hell's going on here? Why would he have had an accident? He was in a pool. She was at the grocery store. Scott wasn't watching. And he had drowned in the pool. She had done CPR and he was totally fine. No, he wasn't. He was fucking dead the whole time. Big shock. I know. The twist, mind-blowing. Except it wasn't. I know it sounds like I'm talking bad about the movie. I'm actually not. But it's just, it was very obvious they were stretching this motherfucking thing out just to get to a full-length feature by this point. So it turns out that Cody's been dead this whole time. He was going with the pretty lady in the pond because, she was the Grim Reaper, essentially taking him into the pond. If the Grim Reaper looked like that, I would go with her and moving on. She discovers all this stuff happened because all this 50s motif stuff, the cars, the classic stuff and everything. Beautiful cars, by the way. Beautiful restoration on these cars. A smartphone in her purse. Why is there a smartphone in the 50s or 60s? And then it turns out that she's been living in the present day doing this stuff. They tried The Village it, except they did it better here because they didn't do it all that shit like The fucking Village. And, well, he basically says, you have to let me go. Can't do, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go with the pretty lady in the lake. And she doesn't want him to, so he does some weird spirit stuff to make dishes and everything and stuff break in the fucking house. And then, yeah, she goes off and sees him off in the lake, or the pond rather. And she's not dealing with this stuff all that well. The car is like in disarray. It turned out to be her grandma's first car back in 1959, but it is present day, so 2022. So the fact that car is even running at all with absolutely very little restoration is a miracle. And she takes off, and that's basically it. All while the Lang trees are cleaning up, and they have no idea what's going on. So, yeah, it was a bit messy in the third act. In fact, I would call it very messy. But it wasn't dull. I'm not going to give it an A. I'm going to give it a B. I'm going to give it credit for trying some new things and trying to rehash some old stuff. It's not the worst thing in the world. You can let me know what you thought in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm Charl Recklin. I'll see you soon.